What we
on
do.
Boss Talk 101. Yeah, we gonna talk, we gonna have fun. We be on fire, we be lit. It's a unique.
Check it. It's Unique Hustle. It's your boy ECO, and I'm here with the lovely, amazing, official Miss Jamaica. What's going on?
None, Madeo, all going. I want y'all stop what you're doing right now. Go like, subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms. When I mean all, I mean our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. You name it, we're on it. Just Google us, Boss Talk Podcast 101. We'll pop up first in line. I guarantee you. But y'all see us on the streets all the time and talk about, man, I love what y'all doing. Keep up the good work. How can we support the brand? This is how you can support the brand. Under each and every video on our YouTube channel, right in our link below, there is a link that says join our membership. Click that link. Follow all the instructions, and that's how you see all the full-length exclusive content that y'all been asking us. Where is this interview? Where's that interview? You have to be a member to see it. Thank you in advance, and we love you.
Hey, man, listen, we got a special guest here today. We're down here in Houston, Texas.
I know you were about to.
I'm so confused and backwards.
We're in California.
We are in California right now. Beverly Hills?
Yes.
Beverly Hills.
It's going down, man. I got Shane So in the building. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
It's great to meet new people. This podcast thing, man, you never know who you're going to meet, what you're going to do, what conversations you're going to have, as long as you got an open mind, right?
100%. Yeah.
Man, so we gonna get in all of his Kool-Aid, right?
Yes, I like to find out more about you as a person.
Oh, great.
So, you were born and raised where?
I was born and raised in Albany, Georgia, South Georgia, near the Florida line.
Okay.
And basically, it's near Alabama and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I was born and raised down there, and then I moved to Atlanta not too long ago.
Okay, so you were born.
Like Atlanta.
You're so. In that part of Georgia compared to Atlanta, would you say that's more country?
Oh, it's country. You can tell from my accent. Yeah, it's definitely more country.
So, were you raised with your mom and dad in the same household?
They were.
They were.
Mm-hmm. They both, now I think when I was about 28, about 10 years ago, they divorced.
Wow. How
But as
long
far
were
as
they
growing
married
up-
for?
Oh, like 33 years.
Wow.
Crazy thing, my dad's like 80 years old, and I was like, "You're divorcing?
Divorcing at that age?
That's crazy." Huh?
Yeah.
I hear that every now and again, and then people are always like, why? Why did you wait so long? If you intended to do it a long time ago, but now it's like.
Yeah. And honestly, with my family, I was like, man, my dad and them, like, that's kind of late in the game. My dad's near 80. But honestly,
how did you feel about it?
It was tough. I was like, man, now I can only imagine if I was 13 years old when that happened.
Crush.
That'd be wild. But honestly, looking back now and seeing how things are now, they're happier than they've ever been.
Wow.
Like, honestly, I think it was the most positive thing. I'm not going to say that happens in most divorces, but in this case, it was the best thing that ever happened.
Wow, and they're still friends.
Still friends. My mom has about 130 beehives. She gives my dad 5 gallons of honey at a time.
Oh, wow.
You know, and then, so they're still good friends.
That's
Man.
awesome. Yeah. So what was it? Your siblings?
Yeah, I have an older half brother and then a younger brother.
Okay, so you're in the midst of no girls. No
girls,
sisters.
no sisters. I always wanted a sister though.
Really?
Yeah.
So how is it like growing up with 2 brothers, no sisters?
Well, my older brother's 17 years older, so by the time I got 4 or 5, he had already left for college. But growing up with the little brother was always fun.
Yeah.
We never really argued. We were really best friends. Even to this day, we're still like best friends.
How far apart in age are y'all?
About a year and 4 months.
So y'all are really close. Okay.
Very close. Yeah.
That's cool. I can understand the distance between your first and second because I'm like the only girl, the last child, and I'm 10 and 12 years younger than my brothers. So I grew up like an only child. I remember when I was younger and they were, around the house, that time they were into girls and stuff like that. So I saw all of the dating and craziness and all of that sort of stuff. But after that, they were gone. I was that child who was, can I go? No, they didn't want me tagging along because they felt like I was going to tattletale on everything that they did.
I got you.
So when they left, I felt like an only child, but.
Okay, you basically, when I looked you up, you get into this thing of flipping houses. It looked like did you start to investigate that? And I'm jumping in right on into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so I started Taekwondo schools when I was like maybe 22.
Wow.
And then when I was 25, having the schools for 2-3 years, this guy bought the pizza place next to my Taekwondo school. And he pulled up, him and his wife had matching cars, Cadillacs, you know, we're in the South. And his hair was slicked back, and I could just tell this guy had money, you know what I mean? And we're in a small country town. Yeah. I could just tell, he looks like a city guy. And I went up to him, I said, sir, what do you do for a living?
There you go.
And he says, young man, I think you need to take me to lunch. So I took him to lunch, and he said he bought homes, he flipped them, he bought properties like multifamily and house, and he rented them out.
Wow.
So guess what happened?
You were interested.
There you go.
I was, but then he never talked to me. He ghosted me right after that. Yeah, and then for 5 years I tried to do it, and I just failed. But 1 month before 30, I guess I need to preface this. During that 5 years, I got 33 properties under contract to buy, but I'd always cancel during the inspection period because I was scared to make the next step.
The next step.
I was just terrified.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Everyone was telling me, oh yeah, 2008, 2010, housing, is dangerous and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you still had a job at the same time while doing this?
Yeah, well, I still ran my taekwondo school. We grew it up from one school to 5 schools, actually.
Oh, wow.
So we were staying pretty busy. I was also a full-time missionary. Every 4 months we'd go to different countries.
I love that.
That's how I learned Spanish.
That's
My wife is from Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but on the 5th year, 1 month before 30, this young boy that was 20 years old just got his license. And I found a property, got it under contract, and I called him like I always did. He said, hey, I want to cancel. And he said, Shane, and he pushed me because I guess he wanted his commission, and he could see where he could double dip. He could make commission from me buying and commission from whenever he sells it for me.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I borrowed money from a buddy of mine.
Okay.
It was only a $45,000 home, but I was still terrified. I borrowed it from him. We bought the home. I used my credit cards to fix it, and 8 months later, we sold it, and we made $50,000. I was proud.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I was very proud. But yeah, that's how I got my first deal, I guess. I was just terrified and pushed.
8 months, does it take that long normally?
Not usually. That shows how bad I was. So, I mean, like, number one, I was slow to move on some of the things. The first contractor bailed on me.
Wow.
So I had to find someone else.
Yeah.
I'm terrified. But during that first, like I said, we bought it in January. We sold it in August, so 8 months. Around May, when I was in the middle of the stress, I saw an old YouTube video. So like YouTube high is what I call it, And there was this old man on there with not this fancy stuff. It was like an old audio, bad visuals. You could barely hear him. There was a horrible echo. But somehow I found that video on YouTube. And he explained a different way of doing real estate where you could buy a property with no bank. You don't have to use a realtor. You don't need any cash. And I was like, man, that sounds good.
Really?
At first, it sounded like a scam, but as he explained it, I realized it was good. And you can still have bulk profit up front, make 10, 20, 30,000.
Wow.
And keep the home and make cash flow.
Man.
And it dawned on us, that sounds right. And now I'm in the most toughest deal of my life. But what he said makes sense because a fix and flip, you're going to buy a house.
Right.
Fix it and sell it, and then you got to repeat it over and over again.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to just buy a property, sit it in, and get paid. So we sold the house in August, and then I said, I'm going to try this out. So I went to a park, and I prayed about it, to be honest. I said, Lord, if it's your will, open the door. If it's not, close it, So I made some calls. And from August to December, long story short, I bought 60 houses.
Wow. 60?
60, yeah.
Wow.
And they were all rentals. And I was able to cash flow. I started building my net worth, borrowing power. And then the next year I did 180, and it just kind of grew from there.
Man.
And then we got into apartment complexes. We got into car washes and storage units and billboards. And I'm just a big nerd, really. So, but that's I guess that's in a nutshell.
But I'm so curious. How are you able to buy these without putting any money down, without doing any of that?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm going to tell the first example that the first house I got. So this old man said, don't go on houses online, go directly to a seller. Don't go to a broker. So I said, man, I'm going to try that. So I started looking on Craigslist at that time.
Right.
I don't work as much now, but I looked on Craigslist, found a house, and I reached out to this lady, and she said, yes, I want to sell this home for $95,000. I have a tenant in there. They haven't paid. I'm in the middle of an eviction, and I'm stressed, And I said, wow. I didn't think about, she's motivated, but now I look back and see how motivated she was.
Yeah.
And she says, the house will be ready on Friday. I said, okay. So I met her on Saturday. Got out there. She was standing outside the house, and the grass was about like this high. It was like really high. There's garbage outside. And she wasn't an old lady. She's like mid-60s, so she was really in the prime, ready to go and just she got into real estate because she wanted passive income. You know, it's a good retirement.
It is.
So when I got there, you know, I guess reality hit her. This is not passive like I thought it was. You know? So I went in and I talked to her, and as soon as we went inside the house, it smelled really bad. Like they had left like a bunch of nasty food and garbage.
Right.
And I'll quicken the story.
No,
I'm enjoying it.
Okay. Well, I walked in and I was going to copy what this old man said and say, hey, look, I'll give you the, you know, whatever. But as I got in there and I started it, she just said, I can't believe they did this to me. So I just switched out. I said, you know, I'm going to just, you know, I was very empathetic. I said, I am so sorry you're going through this. And I got to know her a little bit. And I said, well, what got you into real estate? She goes, well, I got this for retirement. I wanted to retire and be able to have something to pass to my children, you know, and that made sense. And I remembered that. And then I said, well, how about this? Let's just walk through the home. This is a beautiful home, great home. It just needs a little bit of cleanup. And as I was walking through the house, I never bashed the home because she was already through a lot of stress. And there's something I learned that day that I still do to this day is when I walk past them and I heard like the floor creak, I said, ooh, I just make noises. I don't ever bash the property. You know, so I'm walking through the home, doorknobs are missing inside the house and it's got holes in the wall. And then we walked to the kitchen. I said, oh man, you know, if I take this as is, what are you willing to take? I know you're asking 95, but if I take it as is, she goes, I'll do 85. So she came down. I was like, thank you so much for being flexible. So then we walked outside. The grass is high, garbage outside. She sees that the AC is horrible, the roof. It needs to be, you know, fixed. You know, it needs to be a new roof. And she sees all that. Then we go back inside the house. And this is just fast forward to something I do use to this day is when I negotiate, I go to the ugliest, nastiest room in the home.
Of course.
So I went into the kitchen again because that's where it was the worst. You know? And I said, you know, what I'm going to do is step outside. I would love to be able to help you get what you need so you can move on to whatever it is.
Right.
I'm going to step outside and call my partner, and then I'll come back in and I'll tell you what he said. And then right before I stepped outside, I said, before I step outside, I go to bat for you and talk to my partner. What do you really need to let go of this? And she said, $45,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So she went from 95 to 80 to 45.
That's crazy.
So I stepped outside and I'm like, oh, Lord God. Yeah, this is new for me. I'm talking to a seller. I'm an introverted person.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, God, please help me. If it's your will, open the door. Like, I'm just saying all these. I'm praying. And then I called my brother, you know, and I talked to him. Then I went in and I said, hey, look, would you be willing to let me pay you monthly payments? I don't believe a bank will give a loan on this home due to the, you know, it doesn't meet HUD standards. It's not your fault. It's really the tenant's fault. Unfortunately, this is going to need a lot of work. And she saw that. And she said, oh, yeah, okay. As long as you pay $10,000 down, you can pay me monthly. And in my mind, now this is a mistake I made, but I'm glad I did it because usually you need to work with them, you know, whatever it is. But that old man said, you should be able to get these with no money. So in my mind, I was stuck. I'm going to pay no money. So I said, well, Miss Ruth, her name was Ruth. I said, here's the thing. I understand you want skin in the game.
That's it.
But here's the thing. If I give you $10,000, then I put $20,000, $30,000, I'm paying really a huge double down payment. And how about this? Let me repair the home. Let that be my skin in the game. And I'll put all that money into the property. And if I fail, you get the house back in better condition. You can sell it for more. But if I fulfill what I say, then I'll be able to get it to where it needs to be and I'll cash you out. Long story short, I paid zero money down with $1 earnest money, which is like a deposit. I had 30 days to close. And due diligence, the earn, you know, like the inspection period ends on the day of close. I had 30 days.
Wow.
Okay. And you know how much my monthly payment is? $286 principal only payments. Wow. That was my thing.
No.
So in my mind, I had this contract. So now here's the second phase that really got me. And this is the thing that old man said that I still use even to this day.
To this day. Okay.
And I'll nerd out and tell you guys more. I know this isn't a real estate show.
No.
We're learning.
And then, so while it's under contract, what you do is the next thing, which I love. I love win-win-wins. So I like to do well while doing well for others. So what this is I also build a pathway to home ownership for
Okay.
people that cannot get a home. 60% of Americans cannot get a home. They either
Exactly.
1099, medical bills, or whatever. So what I did is I put it online for $130,000, and I would lease it with an option to buy. So I found someone to give me $7,000 down and take it as is and fix everything, and pay me $1,000 a month. So he gave me the 7. I gave him the option. I gave him the lease, and I used $686 out of that to pay closing costs. So I made like $6,200. Closed on the house then, and then every month he would give me $1,000.
Plus,
Then
he
I would
fixed the
pay her
house.
$286 to her. And every time I make a payment, my balance goes down. But every time he does, it's a lease, it stays the same. So the longer he stays in there, the more equity I get.
That's right.
So I got it for 45, it going down. He got it for 130, and he still owes about 123 after he paid me 7. So I just repeated that over and over and over again.
Wow.
That was my first deal.
That's
So-
and that's
crazy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Listen, and after that, it was off to the races. But you already had the Taekwondo businesses, and you had dealt with real estate, or did you own those buildings?
No,
or?
I rented.
Okay.
Yes,
there,
sir.
there you go.
At that time.
So so did you, after you got educated, did you keep going with the Taekwondo classes?
I did. So I sold off those schools, and I have 2. And now I own the building. So we bought an
There
old
you go.
Sears building. So we own the largest Taekwondo school
Wow.
in Northwest Georgia. So I was very happy and proud of that.
That's
So
awesome.
old Sears building. And we put them in there. So I have gymnastics on one side and Taekwondo on the other. And then we bought the other Taekwondo building in the other
Who
areas. as well.
got you into Taekwondo?
Oh, my dad's Korean. As stereotypical as it sounds, he talks
really
like
does
Jackie
it.
Chan's, and he came from Korea, and we're Asian, so we have to do martial arts. I guess.
Wow, that's good stuff. She loved that.
Yes.
She loved
Would
that.
you say that you were as good as Jet Li or Bruce Lee or any of them?
Oh, I honor them completely. So honestly, all I'm trying to do is catch up to.
Just catch
That's what
up.
I say, yeah.
I grew
Wow.
up watching all of those type of movies.
Oh.
You know, as a kid, back in the 80s, you get up, you watch it come outside and start fighting with everybody, trying to do all those different moves. And
Yeah.
my favorite type of movies was the ones where the guy had the long white hair with a razor at the tip.
Okay.
Yes, I used to love watching all of those.
She watches. I watched them too. Drunken
Drunken Master by Jackie Chan.
Yes, sir. That's my favorite.
Oh, Jackie Chan's the best, I think. Isn't he?
No,
He's
not better
awesome.
than Bruce Lee was.
Oh, but like he's funny, he's acrobatic, he does all
he's
that.
good.
He's the best.
He's the best
Yeah,
actor.
yeah,
He's definitely
best.
the best actor.
But the
so
funny
funny.
thing about Jackie Chan, I did not realize he really came in those old
Oh, yeah, I
martial arts
did. I
movies.
did. That's when I
because I knew him as that comedian, actor, funny, crazy. So seeing him like that and then going back and watching him in a serious role, it blew my mind. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
God,
Wow.
that's the same person.
Yeah, he was funny in the older movies, and when we were younger, we watched him, and even when he changed over and he was doing all the new stuff, it was fun to watch. He did most of his own stunts, so you
Yeah.
gotta love it.
Oh yeah, he's broken almost every bone, I think. Yeah, he's awesome. I've always wanted to meet him, by the way.
Do you only do Taekwondo or you practice all the martial arts?
Mainly Taekwondo. I did some Jiu-Jitsu and some Hapkido, but Taekwondo is my main discipline that I know best.
Is that because that's what your dad
I
started
think it's
you
what
off?
my dad did. I've been doing it since I was 3.
Oh,
that's
okay.
That's what
I
we
started
grew
to
up
grab
in.
you downstairs, but I'm glad I didn't.
I was trying to move away.
I was because I was gonna grab him and put him in a hold, and I knew he would have took me out. You'd have
No.
The most important thing is discipline, right?
Yes, sir.
And what would you say? Like, you don't look for issues or trouble, but if somebody come at you with something, you have to defend yourself. You never
Absolutely.
use it for just going out starting trouble. I noticed that from the movies. You don't just go out and start bar fights. You wait until somebody. Have anybody ever approached you and didn't realize?
As a kid,
There's like 2 kids. One kid in 1st grade like grabbed me in a headlock like this one time, and there's a move, and I'd always wanted to try it, and I got to try it. It wasn't like a hit, but if they grab you in a headlock like this, you reach up and grab their hair and pull them out, and it worked.
Easy.
It was
Wow.
real good.
Okay.
And then the other one was like funny. It's as weird as it sounds. It was at a church one time, and he just tried to hit him. I just blocked and like shoved him down. But other than that, no, I've never been in any crazy fight.
did
I've
you
been
ever get in
lucky.
trouble for any one of those?
Oh no.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
No, I think that's live, man. So let me ask you, man, like Grant Cardone, I seen something where you paid how much? Was it $100,000 to have 4
I
meetings?
did, yeah. So,
Shout out to Grant Cardone too. He's dope.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
dope.
So it took me 5 years to get into real estate because that mentor that got me interested, just ghosted me. Disappeared. So I said, took me 5 years to get started. I said, what would have happened if I would have started 5 years prior? Because I've been doing real estate for 8 years now. So I would be in it for 13 years. So much more, right? So not last year, because I forget, it's 2020. In January 2023, I said, that was my mistake. I didn't have any mentor. We can always figure out everything ourselves, but it's good if you can go humble yourself and find those people. Like I'm asking you to help me with this. Yeah. It's okay to ask for help.
Definitely okay to ask for help.
You'd help me skip all them problems that you've already
exactly, because I already faced a lot of them.
And you're going to tweak it and even maybe find out something that we don't know, and that's an exchange of knowledge.
That's what I love. I love win-wins and good relations. And since I'm an introvert, I'm coming out of my shell the best I can. And I said, I said, if I'm going to meet the best businessman I can, I'll start with the guru, the best one that I can think. And that was Grant. So I paid $100,000, and I knew, like I said, my wife's back here, but she was my fiance at that time. I said, I want to be the best husband too. So I paid to meet with his wife. So I met with Elena, and she told me how her and Grant do really good, like business life balance, and how they do everything. Met with Grant and talked to him, and he made like 11 calls throughout the entire session. Wow. Just to help me.
That's hard.
And from that, it made me $888,000 3 months later from one of the calls he made.
Are you serious?
And I was like, wow. So that's the power. So now I'm going in with Ty Lopez. I did $100,000 for that year, and that helped me with my social media. And I'm trying to find out all the people that I can to kind of mentor me. And just like you said earlier before the podcast, is you meet one person, they make the introduction to the next.
Right.
So I got to meet Glenn Stearns on Undercover Millionaire. Yeah. He took me to Richard Branson's.
There you go.
Just met all these great people, and I'm just getting started. Starting with you,
man.
So,
come on, man.
You sowed your seed. That's all you did, and God did the rest.
That's right. That's right. That is so true.
She said it.
But like Tony Robbins, all those guys, man. Like, what are you looking? What's the, just to grow the knowledge so you can share with others, or what is the game plan?
So, kind of like my reason why, I guess, is so. Like I said, I was a full-time missionary too at the same time, and I've been doing that since I was 12. When I was 18, 19, I really wanted to get heavy into it, even before I owned the schools. But if you go do a trip and you're out of country, and then you come back to America and you go to a church, or people say, hey, can you give me money to help poor people? You'll quickly find out nonprofit's very nonprofit,
That's right.
And then it's hard to ask for, and then you feel like you're begging, even though it's for a good reason. So that's why when I did the Taekwondo schools, I prayed, I said, Lord, if this be your will, bless it. And he did. So I was able to use some of that money. Then we grew to the second school. But then I said, man, I can get a lot of time. I could be more free if I had financial freedom.
There you go.
So I said, man, if I can grow this size portfolio, for example, if you're able to give less time than what you are now in your job and make 10 times the money, and you're okay with $30,000 a year, some people are okay with that, or 40, right? But if you can make, let's just say that you say, well, it's greedy and bad for you to make $100,000. If you're happy with 30, take the other 70 and help someone else.
There you go.
Awesome. So what we do is we do that. So now if I die, at least my assets will take care of my wife, my mom, my grandma, my family, my team, but also keep funding all the projects that we've done
Exactly.
in the country. So that was the reason why.
Great way to look at it.
Yeah, so that keeps me. And it sounds like y'all believe in God too.
Oh, for sure.
So the Bible says, do everything as if you're doing it unto God. So if you do that, you're going to give 100%. If I knew God was coming into my house, it's going to be spick and span clean. So you want to keep everything perfect. So that was kind of my idea and thought of it.
I think that's live. When you think about it from a biblical standpoint, it's tough because a lot of time when you read the word and you teach the word and you know the word, you know the scriptures that say, "Oh no man, nothing but to love him." All these different things. So you're always looking for ways to make sure you're in guidance with the word. while knowing that you're going to stumble. A just man falls 7 times, but he gets back up. So it's not going to be a thing where you're not going to run into these bumps and bruises, but you just got to keep going and keep going.
That's right.
And I think that's the name of the guy. I think you figured it out, man. I think the principles that you apply, as long as you line them up with the will of God, I think everything will be great.
Yeah, now there is one scary scripture, the one that says, many will come in the end days and say, Lord, Lord, did I
man.
Right?
Yeah, I never knew you.
Yeah, I never knew.
Depart from me, you workers of iniquity.
Oh yeah. So I always there's a thing when I pray. I always say this certain thing. I say, Lord, help me be willing to be the one. Which means, if you think about it, all the disciples had talents and jobs that they were good at. Mm-hmm. But when Jesus said, "Stop and follow me," it says they literally dropped their nets.
That's right.
So sometimes we'll do things for God what we want to do, but it doesn't mean that's what He wanted you to do. So I say, Lord, if you tell me this, help me be willing to,
That's it. That's it. That's it.
So but right now I feel like this is what it is. But if God called me, I'm like, all right, well, I thought I was doing good, but it's okay. You just have to trust in God. So that's kind of.
I agree 100%.
So who started you off in doing missionary? How did you get into that missionary work? And how old were you?
Oh, so my mom, I grew up in the church, but whenever I was like 12, my mom took me on my first mission trip. Me and my little brother,
Wow.
we went to Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we went out and saw kids living in adobe homes and just seeing the conditions. And when we came back to America, I'm like, man, like this is, you get to see a different perspective. So throughout my teens and 20s, we just continued to do that. And I was with a pastor named Brother Lowe. Mm-hmm. And sorry, I ate before I came. So,
No, you're fine.
And he's
Do you
friends
want some
with.
water too?
No, I got my sweet
Okay.
tea here. But no, he was friends with David Wilkerson out of Times Square Church, and I got to just see a lot of good. I had a lot of good Christian father figures for me, aside from my dad. But I got to see a lot of good father figures and see a lot of, good people. I didn't get saved till I was 28, though.
Yeah.
I was just, I guess, religious at that
Yeah,
time.
right.
I was willing, but God really got me one day on the mission field when I was 28, and that's when I got saved.
Wow, that's great.
What pushed you at that time at 28? What made it?
Honestly, it's I was listening to some sermons, and then I found some online sermons, and I was in Panama in a hotel, and I said, wow, like, I feel like there's just that moment I felt it, and I prayed, and I could tell a big change happened at that time. Yeah,
That's good. Everything happened in God's time.
Let me tell you something, man. It's something when when you know the scripture, when you know that if any man be in Christ, he a new creature.
Yes, sir.
Old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. When you really take and digest that scripture, that's what changed my life.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? That when you know you can start over again.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
and
sir.
I think that's the thing. And to have a real, true relationship with God, I think it's a thing where, because I believe in the Word of God. I believe in Scripture. Mm-hmm. I believe a lot of times people open that book up, but they don't live by that book. Mm-hmm. So it takes, you have to really digest what's going on in there.
I agree.
I tell people all the time, you have to tie your camel to a date tree. Walk on the hot desert sand. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean?
Yes, sir. I like
Because
that.
a lot of times we so caught up in Americanized way of doing things because it's what wraps around us that we get lost in the sauce.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You see what I'm saying?
I agree.
So it's a lot. But I wanted to ask you, going back to the entrepreneurship, what books would you suggest people read? Because did you ever read books?
Yeah, I hate to say it. I've read very few.
Why?
I'm not much of a reader.
You own that YouTube.
He's a hands-on person.
I'm a YouTube person. I like to figure out, and I was homeschooled when I was little, so my mom let us figure out things when we were trying to do. But there's one called ABCs of Real Estate Investing by Kim McElroy.
I knew he had something.
Yeah, and he was really good, and it gives the good basics to it. Then there's one called the Banker's Code that teaches you how to manipulate debt.
I think I heard of that one.
And it's actually, it's not all the way perfect, but it gives you a good, like, okay, wow, that opened my eyes. And then there's a tax, but I can't remember the name of that, but it's really good too to teach you how you can, because like I forget how many, I think it's 13,000 pages to the IRS.
Yeah.
I think only like 100 or 175 pages on how to file it. The rest are how to deduct them, and most CPAs don't do that.
Okay.
And the only way you can get the full tax advantage is real estate.
Okay.
So there's certain, you want to be what they call a real estate professional, because if you make more than 150 grand and you're not a real estate professional, you lose a lot of deductions.
I
So
agree
you
with
have
that.
to be a real estate professional to be able to exceed that.
I'm gonna tell you something, bud. That's something I'm definitely gonna be. You talking about using me? I'm gonna use the heck out of you because I've been thinking about me and my wife
Property,
both buying more real estate, doing more things to try to, and then also giving back more. That's the one thing you got to do. I feel when you books that you read tell you that, but in general life, you got to give something back. You got to show love. You got to respect because God keep blessing us, man.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of the day, it's crazy not to give,
Yes, sir. Yes,
but my
100%.
biggest thing is there's so many people out here with nonprofit organizations. Some people create it just for the look of it and not really just doing what they need to do.
Yes,
and there's so many organizations out here that are asking, and honestly sometimes I feel like I'm not led to give to some because are you doing really what you're supposed to be doing with these funds?
Yes.
So I'm always looking for that person. I always pray about it, and sometimes you find it in the weirdest ways, but I think God just hasn't put it my way like I wanted to yet.
Yes.
And it's a case where I want him to send me people to help. Not actually the organizations, but you want the people. You're like, okay, and not always the person that is so-called so poor, but you have the people out here who are hurting but are too prideful to ask for help.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
there's a lot out there.
You will never know that they're going through certain things unless somebody else tells you. Those are the people, they don't even have to know that I help them, but those are the people that I want to help.
100%. Yeah, and there's a lot of organizations. I think, what is it, the Dimes? I forget, it's one of those organizations. And they joke because for every dollar, they only give 10% to the organization that, or whatever cause they say they're doing. So I understand for sure.
Well, man, like I said, man, I definitely think God didn't. We didn't do this by choice. It wasn't by chance. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I know He don't make no mistakes, man. I met you, and I do stuff like this because I don't meet strangers. So at the end of the day, if I meet somebody, I'm pretty much. It's just the way I am.
Yes, sir.
I don't miss either. It's just the way it is. And I know God didn't put you in our life for no reason, man. I know we're gonna do a lot of different things together, and I'm gonna be looking to learn more about that real estate for sure.
Over here, I want to learn about the podcast. You've done a great job with all this.
Oh man, we're just having a good time, man. Like I said, what do you think about podcasting? And because it kind of ripped through the scene, it wasn't a thing years ago, but now it's getting more and more predominant.
Doing
like, what do you think that it's doing for us? The information and the way it's flowing now. Used to it was the radio and the television. Now podcasters are maybe the number one thing that people use as a resource for information.
Number one is a great way to learn, I think, because I'm a nerd, so I love to learn. Then number two, you guys have interesting people on there, and it's nice to be able to connect with them and to see the, more than just the flashing lights. 'Cause you have a bunch of celebrities on, right? You get to see behind the scenes, and that's kind of interesting. To me, too, because we do a real estate or a business kind of part. That's what we're doing.
That's correct.
So we figure the more people we know, the more opportunity that we have, but also the opportunity we can give to other people. So, and we're doing like a workshop like once a month. We have about 100 people come, 50. We start off with 40, 50. Now we have 120 coming this Saturday.
Yeah.
But basically, we'll teach for free. It's a free event, and I bring Chick-fil-A, as you can see. Chick-fil-A, right?
Love Chick-fil-A.
And then what we do is we'll teach, and our hope is to say we might be able to partner with some of these people.
Right.
Sometimes they have deals they can't buy, so we could buy them.
Wow.
Or they can rip off and duplicate what we're doing, like I told you about my first deal. And or maybe they won't want to partner with us, but they'll talk good about it. And I just love I love win-win-wins of all those situations. And podcast is a great way to get yourself out there, meet people, mingle. And Grant Cardone has a good saying. He says, it's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Exactly.
That's exactly what this is.
That's
I think
exactly
it's
what it
There's
is.
so many times we go places and I love to hear feedback, but people will walk, oh my God, you're
They love it.
Boss Talk 101, such and such and such. And I was
That's
like,
all over the U.S.
and it's
That's
so
amazing.
surprising, but I love to hear it because I want to know what people are thinking about us.
Yes.
what do they love about the show so much? Because we're just doing us. We don't know. But people are telling us how we come across through the screens, and I'm like, you can feel that? You can see that? I'm like, yeah.
What a compliment that is.
That is.
I know, I love it.
So you could be standing outside and somebody run way from across the street like, hey, hey, can I get a picture with you? Like, you was like way across there. How did you even see me? At the end of the day, it's like, man, that shows you that your work doesn't go in vain. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
That you're planting the seeds the way you should be planting them. I think that's important, and podcasting, again, the information, the flow of information and the way that it's getting out there, you have so much stuff on the internet. Some of this stuff we know is not even something that you can digest. You shouldn't even be looking at. So a lot of times you just got to look at that and say, if you're a person that's an open person like me, open book, a person who wants to talk, this is a place where you can get out here and maybe give some credible information, some good stuff, some stuff
value.
Some value, add value to people's lives, and I think that's the part I like the most about it.
Yeah, and I got so much value out of watching podcasts, and now it's neat to do one. Like I'm going to catch up to you. That's the hope. So.
Thank you so much.
I gotta say something. So you said you are related to Elvis Presley.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, he's like a fourth cousin. Yeah, I was like, man, that's
your mom's
crazy.
side or dad's side?
On my mom's side. So it's my
mom's.
my mom's side.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm related to Elvis, I guess, from my hair, but I'm also half Korean. But
Oh man, that's so live, man. Thank you so much.
My wife laughs at me every time.
Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Thanks
How
for
can people
having
get a hold of you if they're trying to invest, if they're trying to figure out a way to, because your page is so informative. When I looked at it, I was so impressed.
I appreciate
She
it.
seen me over here, I'm gone. I was like, this is dope. This dude's all right. He knows what he's talking
Yeah, he was.
I was in there just tripping off of you.
Well, yeah, you can find me Instagram, Facebook, X. That's not Twitter anymore, right? YouTube at Shane So SHANESEO. So,
Wow.
yeah, and it's not search engine optimization.
One more.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know your wife was your wife?
Wow.
Ooh, I've been praying for a long time, and I got to the point where I said, I'm never going to get married. And then I remember the moment I saw her and the time we spent together, and I told her that, I said, she's more than a pretty face. Just something about her soul and the spirit. You
That's
can
right.
feel
You can tell.
when you have the one, right? And biblically, spiritually, everything.
right.
And I remember telling her, and it's probably weird for her. I know she's back there, but I told her, I said, I'm going to take the risk on you. It means I'm willing to risk my heart. Like I could just feel something. And then as I spent time with her and saw who she was and everything, I said, this is the one. I'm going to lock it down, put a ring on the finger. And that's what I did.
How long after you met her did you tell her that you're going to take a risk on her? How long did it take you to tell her?
Oh, I was like 2 days. I said, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to try this out and date
It
you.
don't take long.
Not to marry. I didn't ask her to marry me that day.
Okay.
But I said, I'm going to take this risk. Let's do this.
How long after did you ask her to marry her?
Probably a year.
A year?
Yes, ma'am.
We
I knew sooner than that, but I took my time. The best
I met my wife 22 years ago.
How'd y'all meet, by the way?
I was at work and she lived in an apartment, and I went by because we was putting two-way in the system, internet, and she was looking quite adorable.
No, I was looking a mess. I'm a tomboy at heart, really.
Yeah,
So I was I played basketball in college, did all of
she
that.
was here. She just come from Jamaica. How long had you been here?
I was only here, I was going to college here, and I was probably less than 6 months when I came here. And I was in a basketball shorts and a t-shirt when he saw me.
And I went ahead and took a chance on her. Had to.
Oh, that's.
But it didn't take us 4 months. We've been married in 4 months.
But you loved her at first sight, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty well. Second sight. The first sight was.
He was just curious.
I was just trying to understand why she sounded like she did, where she was from.
Because I had a stronger accent than I do now.
Can you talk like how you used to?
Yes.
Hello.
Depends on who I was.
If she's talking
depends on who I'm talking to.
If she's talking to another Jamaican,
she's with the family,
they go in.
Yeah.
They go in.
Yeah.
But definitely, man, and like I said, man, God don't make no mistakes. Plus, when you put God first, you know that you understand who this woman is.
Yes,
When
sir.
God, you understand
100%.
what a wife is, and I think that's the part what drove me, because I was 30 at the time, and it was like it's time.
But let me ask you a question, though. Because for me it was totally different. When you prayed for what you prayed for in a wife, when you met me, did you realize that I was that, or it took you like a little bit after that to realize?
It took me a little bit after that, but then I laughed because I wrote a letter to God, and everything I wrote on the letter, you were. So that's the thing. So when the second time meeting you, I called my uncle and told him I found my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's amazing.
And basically after that, I went for it. You know,
because that's the funny thing, because I did the same thing, not write the letter, but I remember praying about, because we all go through. Because I was raised in the church and all of that. And, you know, you read your Bible now, then the next minute you put it down, you doing everything else.
That's right, yeah.
And I had gotten to a point in my life when I told God, I said, God, I'm tired of going in and out of your word. I know what to do, but I need someone to be equally yoked, to help me when I'm strained, and somebody who believes in the word and can teach me certain things. And it's so funny because when he came into my life, he knows the Bible from back to front. We went to old age home teaching. I mean, we were having Bible study all the time, and then the college I was going to was a Christian college. So they were teaching me all of the back end of the history of everything, and I would ask him certain things. So it was really fun, but it took me probably a year later. I started laughing to God, and I said, I realized that everything I had prayed for, he was every single thing down to the T.
I ain't never heard
and
of that.
I was just laughing about it, because I was like, that's why I tell people all the time, be careful of what you pray for and be very exact. I mean, if you want to see him come to you in black boxers, you better tell him, because he will deliver what you ask for.
He definitely will deliver, man. Thank you so much, Shane, man. God bless you for coming on Boss Talk 101. This is the hardest podcast ever in life.
And I'm subscribed.
Hey, Boss Talk 101, where the bosses talk.
And we out.
See?